Hey solos, so you're going to Walt Disney World all by yourself and you want to know if you should visit or stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge. Solo spoiler, yes. Yes, period. Yes, period. You don't need to listen to the rest of the episode. I mean, definitely listen to the rest of the episode because I'm going to give you some really helpful tips and tricks for navigating the hotel, but yes, definitely go. Hi everyone, it's Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do, and welcome to Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World, now in its second year. So we are finishing our Deluxe series this summer, and we are finishing in a way that I had hoped and prayed and manifested that we would be able to finish, and that is with a hotel, a deluxe hotel that I have got to stay at. This is the first deluxe hotel I got to stay at, and I was really excited when I realized I could make that happen, that I could end with this as my own solo story. So for all the other deluxe resorts, I have had somebody on to come and talk about their solo stories about staying at that resort, and that has been amazing. I have loved everyone I've connected with. However, for this one, the solo story is with me. And actually, also with Denise. So I did record a solo story for this, and you can listen and watch, actually. You can watch our conversation with Denise on Patreon for free members as well as paid members. So if you want another solo story. But this particular episode is going to be with me. What else do you need to know? So yes, we have a Patreon. It was my birthday this weekend. I talked about going on Patreon and just like checking it out, like letting me know if there's anything else that you would want on Patreon if you wanted to stick around. Also, if you did that, you might notice that I added another tier that is just like a $2 a month tier, super inexpensive, and that would get you the monthly release schedule as well as the opportunity to vote on upcoming episodes. So if you want to support the podcast just in like a small way, then that is a really good opportunity to do that as well. I am on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads, but just a full heads up, I have not been active on any of those in August. I mean, I'm lurking, but I just not actively posting, and it will probably be the same for September. There's a lot of deadlines and things like that. But I mean, this is a podcast, so you don't really need, I guess, the Instagram posts. I keep telling myself, what else? You can listen to this on YouTube, Apple, and on Spotify. Please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. And if you wanted to like bestow a little birthday love on me, then you can rate and review on all of the platforms, subscribe on all of the platforms, and it would be really even great if you like provided a review with maybe like a tip or something that you've learned through the podcast, this episode or other episodes. I also asked as a little birthday wish if you could share this with one person, multiple people, like stranger accounts. I don't know. It's been really great to be able to watch the podcast grow through word of mouth. So I'm asking you to word your mouths. Does that sound weird? Maybe. Now, by the time I am recording this, D23 stuff has not happened yet. And I guess I don't even know if I should say this. If cool things happened that I think are relevant to solos or for solos, then I will make a little bonus episode about that and I'll post it later this week. But I'm recording this during Labor Day weekend, which is my birthday weekend, so I might be a little busy. Talk past and present and future in one sentence. All right, but you know what? Let's talk about Animal Kingdom Lodge. That is why you're here, and this is why I'm so excited about this episode. Let's get into it. All right. So I don't know why you personally go to Walt Disney World and you go solo, but one of the reasons why I love to go to Walt Disney World solo, and I know that a lot of people that I've interviewed for the solo stories say similar things, which is to go for the vibes of it all. Yes, rides and yes, food and all of that stuff, but there is just something about like sitting in the vibes, the Disney bubble, and just taking it all in and not feeling rushed and then finding these like hidden gems of magic. Oh my God, guess what? Animal Kingdom Lodge is the place that you can do all those things. If you love the Africa section of Animal Kingdom, then Animal Kingdom Lodge is going to bring you even more of those types of vibes. And so that is why I'm saying you definitely have to go and visit. Now, there is an element about this episode that I have been a little worried about since I stayed at Animal Kingdom, because it seems a little bit negative in my brain. So I've been thinking, don't worry, I'll tell you what it is. But I have been thinking about like, ooh, this is going to be negative. I don't want to be too negative. And then the other day, as I was planning this episode out, I realized this is actually quite a positive thing. And, and that is, although this was my first deluxe resort, the angels didn't sing. There was no big revelation. I did not find anything so spectacular about staying at a deluxe resort, this particular deluxe resort, that I feel super compelled to go back. And that nothing I did at Animal Kingdom Lodge, other than swim, because you can't swim in pools that aren't your own, nothing I did at Animal Kingdom Lodge as a guest staying overnight was unique to my experience staying overnight. In other words, everything that I did at Animal Kingdom Lodge, I have been able to do as somebody that's coming for the afternoon, as someone that's just staying in Walt Disney World property, not staying at the hotel. So there was nothing that I did at Animal Kingdom Lodge as a guest, other than swim, that was different than what I've done when I have just come for the afternoon. So that's the thing that I felt like, ooh, that's going to sound really negative. But I realized, no, it's positive, because what that means, solos, is that if you don't have a deluxe budget to go and stay at a hotel, that's a deluxe hotel, totally get it. Most of the time I want to spend my money in other places, then you can still go to Animal Kingdom Lodge and get all of the stuff that I am talking about. So yeah, of course you can stay there, obviously. However, if that isn't an option for you, or if you want to like kind of explore some other options, then know that just going for the afternoon, going for the day, you can do and get and experience all the same things. And like I said, I was like, oh, that's going to sound really negative on the podcast. But then I realized, no, that's so positive, because that means that it's even more impetus for you to go and visit and just kind of explore. Now, I will say before obviously I'll talk a little bit more about my room and my stay at the end of the episode, but I didn't have a Savannah view, and that would have made a big difference, obviously. That would have made a big difference. So let's get into talking about all of the stuff before I talk about the stay. But look, I just want to really, really clarify that you definitely have to visit, even if you're not staying. Okay, so one last time for this season, there are 3.5 categories of Disney hotels: value, moderate, deluxe, and then deluxe villas. That is that half category. The values are inexpensive. The moderates have more theming and a little bit more expensive. The deluxe are fancy, fancy, fancy. And then the deluxe villas are the timeshare Disney Vacation Club DVC section of the deluxe resorts. Now, one of the things about the deluxe resorts is that all of them, except for Animal Kingdom, are close enough to at least one of the theme parks, so that you can get to at least one theme park on a mode of transportation that is not Disney bus. Well, sorry, you can get to a theme park or Disney Springs, just to clarify that, with a mode of transportation that is not the Disney buses, except for Animal Kingdom. And the reason why is because Animal Kingdom has its own savannah. Like, it has its own big area where there are giraffes and zebras and warthogs and vultures and different variety of deer, and a lot of the animals that you see on Kilimanjaro safaris, on the Kilimanjaro Safaris ride tour at Animal Kingdom, you can actually see at Animal Kingdom Lodge. It has its own savannah. So the reason why it is so much further away from another park is because it has all of this land for all of these animals, which is amazing. Amazing. So before I had an annual pass, for example, and I was just going to Disney just like for, usually what I do is I'll fly in on one day really, really early, and then I'll have like 2 days, full days, and then I'll fly out really, really late on the fourth day, so that I basically have that first and last day. And so a lot of times on that last day, I would go to Animal Kingdom Lodge. I wouldn't have a park pass. This is before I had an annual pass. I wouldn't have a park pass, and I would go to Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I would like look at all the animals. I would just relax and look at all the animals and eat good food and walk around and talk to the cultural guides, and it was great. So again, when I talk about the savannah, it's basically like the Kilimanjaro Safaris ride, but in a hotel, in a hotel version, which is really, really amazing. And that's why you have to go. That's why you have to go. Plus, it has the largest collection of art and cultural objects from the continent of Africa outside the continent of Africa. So there, it's like museum quality pieces throughout the museum. And so if you are into history and you are into culture and you're into learning about different cultures and different continents other than North America, then again, you can spend the whole day just walking around and exploring all of these different things the Animal Kingdom Lodge has to offer. And it's amazing. And people want you there. Like the cast members want you there. And I will talk about that in a second. So when I was talking about Grand Floridian, or I was talking about Polynesian, both of those hotels are large, but they are a series of smaller buildings that are all separated across an area. Then you talk about a hotel, or I talk about a hotel, like the Contemporary or the Riviera, which is one tower where everything is contained. Actually, that's not true with Contemporary. They do have those like little beachfront cottages, but we're not talking about those. Animal Kingdom Lodge is different than really any other hotel on the property because they are trying to maximize the amount of rooms that can actually see the savannah. So there are two main buildings. The first one is Jumbo House, and that is the original Deluxe hotel. And then about a 10-minute walk away, maybe 15 minutes, or you can wait for the little bus, the little shuttle that goes in between them. It's basically a parking lot in between them. There is a smaller version of that same hotel, and that is Kidani House, and that was built as DVC, Disney Vacation Club. That is where I stayed because I actually rented DVC points to be able to stay in a DVC room. These buildings are about 5 stories, but they don't seem that tall because of the way that the landscape works. And they are very, very long buildings, but they're also slightly curved. And that is, again, to maximize the amount of rooms that are facing the savannah. So you can imagine it's not really a letter C, but let's just imagine it's a letter C. All of the rooms that are like inside the C are facing the savannah, and then there are rooms on the outside of the C that would face like the letter C, that would face like the parking lot. But because of the, trickiness, I guess, of the architecture, those like little curve parts of the sea can also curve into seeing the savannah. So really there aren't a ton of rooms, all things considered, that are not savannah view. But really, if you're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, most people, I think, would really want the savannah view. So they did their best to make sure that as many rooms as possible somehow could see the savannah. The thing with all the deluxe resorts as well is that all the deluxe resorts have balconies. So whereas the value and moderate resorts all have hallways that are essentially outside, like a motel style, so there are no balconies, deluxe resorts all have like indoor hallways so that there is an opportunity for a balcony, whether that is a Juliet balcony, which is just like a simple like bar where you can just like pop your little head out and wave or whatever, or a full balcony with chairs. They all have a balcony option. So at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, there is a full balcony in all of the rooms. So if you have a Savannah room, you have a balcony with 2 chairs that you could just sit there all day and watch the animals, which sounds freaking awesome. But if you don't have a room, do not worry, I got you. The drawback about this particular design of the hotel is that it is just very, 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 very long hallways. So if you are staying at the end of the hall, you might get a really cool view of the Savannah and like different versions of the Savannah, like not different versions, but like different viewpoints of the Savannah. But maybe you had to walk like a half a mile to get there. I mean, you are indoors, so that's better. But like, you know, it's still a walk. And I remember listening to a video, I think it was DFB Guide, years and years and years ago. And it was like AJ's voice being like, oh, just a reminder that you can get your Lyft or Uber to like drop you off at the closest entrance. And so you don't have to like walk that walk. That is a long, long walk. And so that has always stuck with me, and I have seen that myself. But this time was, of course, the first time I was doing it with luggage. And yeah, that is quite a walk, and I wasn't even that far. So just know that. Now, of course, you can request rooms if you're staying there that is closer to the main building or closer to the main lobby. But the closer you get to the main lobby, the less, what's what I'm looking for, exclusive, I guess, private, I guess, your view of the Savannah will be. So I guess that's just really up to you what you're looking for. So let's say you're coming to visit or you're staying and you pull up in front of Jumbo House. You are going to walk in to this lobby that I guarantee you is going to take your breath away. It is just phenomenal what you are looking at. It is very reminiscent of the way the Wilderness Lodge is kind of like that main lobby that's like a big open space in the middle with a big window and, you know, the like the wood boughs coming to like frame the lobby. It is a little reminiscent of that. And I find this more impressive, but perhaps it's just because I went there first. And then like what you see is this big, gorgeous window where there's a Savannah, and it's amazing. It's breathtaking. It is breathtaking. Usually you are greeted by one of the cultural ambassador cast members. So there is a cultural ambassador program through Animal Kingdom Lodge where people in different countries across the continent of Africa will come for a year, and there'll be cast members. There'll be cultural ambassadors. They can talk about their countries. They'll talk about different animals and things like that in Africa. They'll talk about different African culture elements. Sometimes they're in like just a kind of regular type of uniform. Sometimes they're in more cultural outfits. I saw a cast member about a year ago, and she had the most gorgeous dress on, and it had this like headpiece, and she just looked phenomenal. And I was like, oh my God, you look phenomenal. And she did this whole photo shoot for me, and it was amazing. But I was like, wait a second, what am I gonna do with like 20 pictures of this woman I've never met before? So the next time I was there a few months later, I saw her. She wasn't quite as like super friendly. So I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I have all these pictures of you. Can I send them to you? Because I don't need them on my phone. And so that was really fun because she did look phenomenal. The last time I was there, like when I was there in August, I had this great conversation with this one cast member, and it was just really funny because I just kept teasing him. He was saying like how overbearing his mother is and how overbearing his big sister is. But now, you know, he's in North America and he's so far away from everyone. And I'm like, telling him to do this and telling him to do this and making fun of him. And I'm like, I'm bringing some big sister energy to you. And it was just really fun. Everyone that I have met who through the Cultural Ambassador Program have been so wonderful and warm and knowledgeable. And it's always such a great experience, which is why you can spend so much time there, because you can make conversations with these cast members who just want to talk and just want to share. It's really, really incredible. So let's talk about seeing the savannah. I think that might be the best way to kind of dive into this episode since I've talked about it so much. So if you're coming and you're not staying there, okay, I mean, obviously everything I'm saying is for people who are staying there as well, but I want to flag that this is for people who aren't staying there, like to do these things as well. So from the lobby, you can walk downstairs one level, and there is a place that you can go and see the savannah. There's cultural ambassador cast members right there. There are different like things, like little information things for kids and stuff like that. And you can kind of walk out. And on that walkout, there's usually, like I said, a cultural ambassador who can point out different animals for you and all of that stuff. Sometimes they have bones or impressions of like hoof prints and things like that, because again, the idea is kind of education at that point. You might be impressed by that view, but of course that's like the most popular view. So, I mean, enjoy it, but that's not the only view we're going to talk about. So that's the one main place that you can see the animals. And I'm talking about Jambo House right now, but it is a similar setup for Kidani. Kidani is super cool. It's not quite as big or as impressive, but it is definitely cool. And it is the same kind of setup, that there is I can't believe I'm blanking on the word right now, but just like a walkout area that is crafted for people to go out and talk to the cast members and learn about the animals and things like that. Those are also where the fire pits are if you were so inclined to do like a marshmallow roast or s'mores or whatever when they do that in the evening with the kids or the adults. So these walkouts are one place. And that, like I said, you have to go downstairs. On that first floor where the lobby is, on either side of the stairs, you'll also see that there are places that you can go outside, and they have some rocking chairs. And so that's a really nice place to go and sit. I did some sitting there when I was staying there in August. And it was actually always one of the places in the back of my mind that I'm like, oh, if I ever stay here, I'm going to go sit in these chairs and just like spend the whole day there. That didn't really work because that is kind of a busy spot. It's right off the lobby, so there's always people coming and going. It looks very romantic and very relaxing, but in reality, it's not. There's a lot of people. Of course, you can make it relaxing, but it didn't quite have the like long-term romance I was thinking about it. And these like little areas with these chairs are both in the Kidani House and Jambo House. Another place that you can see animals in the Jambo House is actually by the pool. So again, you can't go swim in the pool if you don't stay there. However, if you go downstairs again, it's a little confusing. Just ask a cast member, because you're still going downstairs, but you're taking a different stairway or elevator. If you go downstairs and you walk past the pool, you will see that there is a place that they have flamingos, and then another little savanna area where you can see giraffes, but sometimes they have some smaller animals, and there are also cultural ambassadors there as well to answer your questions. If you're at the Kidani House by the pool, they don't have flamingos and stuff. It's not quite as impressive, but there's also a little place that you can go, and there's usually a cultural ambassador there who's oftentimes very bored because they just don't get as much foot traffic from the animals or the guests. So every time I've been there, I'm like, okay, let's play the game that you have set up, or tell me about this thing that you want to tell me about. And then when you do those activities, again, it's for kids, they give you a little bead. And so I have this one bead, and I would like to collect more of them, but there were a lot of kids around, so I didn't get to collect my beads this time. But you can collect your beads there as well. Okay, but here is my big Savannah tip and trick. And I'm just telling this to you solos because I don't want big groups of people knowing about this and then it getting shut down. And I have talked about this on the podcast before. And I have made a video. It's available. I mean, it was available on Instagram. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So it is on Patreon for both. Actually, I think I made it a public post, so you can go and watch that. But this is a tip that I had 2 cast members over 2 trips tell me. So even though you're going to think it's very like sneaky and you're going to feel like you're doing anything wrong, I'm telling you right now, it is totally cool. And this is what you have to do. When you're at either Kidani House or Jambo House, doesn't matter if you're staying there, go down the hallway, any hallway, preferably on a taller floor, on a higher floor. Go all the way down to the end of the hallway until it stops. And when you get to the end of the hallway, look at where there's the emergency exit, and then go out the emergency exit. And guess what, solos? There is your own private viewing platform to the savannah. The emergency exits are on the outside of the buildings. You can get both in and out of those doors, and it is the same view as all the people that have the balconies. And like I said, cast members told me this, 2 different cast members on 2 different trips, and I have done it on multiple trips, and it is wonderful, quiet, relaxing, and I see all the animals, and I don't have to look, I love kids, but I don't want them getting in the way of me seeing giraffes. You know what I mean? So it's amazing. And if you are comfortable, just sitting on the stairs, then, like I was, then just sit on the stairs and just watch the animals. And that is, it's not very comfortable, all things considered, but it's a great place to go and sit and watch the animals. And there's never anybody there. Never, ever, ever, ever. I've done it on multiple floors, and then you can walk up and down the stairs if you want a different view or a better view. But that's the tip. Go and do that. It's wonderful. Wonderful. And look, every time I've done that, I'm walking down the hall thinking, ooh, I'm not staying here. Is anyone going to say anything? Ooh, da, 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 da. No. Now, look, I do just want to flag that as a white middle-aged woman, I am able to move through spaces with far less suspicion than other people that have that read differently in the public. However, the people that I have seen in the hallway are other guests or cast members that are from housekeeping, and usually they're just hi, and then they move on, they're not security. You can guarantee that there are a ton of cameras in the hallways and on the emergency exits and things like that, and nobody has ever said anything. So go and do it. I am a little nervous every time I do it, but it's great. Every time I get there, I'm just oh my God, I love this. I love this so much. Plus, the other thing is that when you are going down these hallways to go to the emergency exit, you can also pass a ton of artifacts, a ton of these historical, cultural artifacts from the continent of Africa and learn about them. So even if you're too afraid to go out onto the fire escape, you can just walk up and down these hallways, reading the information, looking at these different objects, and really just making a day out of learning about the different cultures across the continent of Africa. A+. Plus you can see a giraffe. What a wonderful way to spend an afternoon. Okay, so let's talk about food. Now, I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial. And that is, I think the food at Animal Kingdom is wonderful, but I think that people talk about the less wonderful things about it more than they talk about the wonderful things about it. Okay, so let's see if let me see if I can untangle that a little bit for you. There is only one quick service restaurant across both Kidani and Jambo House. So again, there are these 2 separate buildings. Kidani is DVC and Jambo House is the main deluxe resort. When I have gone for the afternoon before, I sometimes get the sense that Animal Kingdom Lodge can feel like a value resort at certain main meal times. And that is because with only one quick service restaurant, and it's in kind of, it's meant to feel like secluded, like you're, in the jungle or whatever. It is a bit of a bottleneck. So during these peak times, it just becomes this crazy busy hub full of families and stress and like food and all of that stuff. So in that way, the all-star like food courts work better because of the layout. Here with the quick service, you have to go outside, it's by the pool, and there's like one pathway to get there. And there's two sets of doors, but there's really just like one main set of doors that people come in. And I don't know, you'll see. If you go, you'll see that it does feel like a bit like a bottleneck, and all of a sudden it feels very much like a value resort. There is a coffee bar in this. So did I say it was called the Mara? So it's called the Mara. That's the quick service restaurant. There is a coffee bar there, but the coffee isn't like overly fantastic or good. Like it's quite surprising. And I'm actually more surprised that there isn't more kind of quick service grab and go stuff. If you're at Kidani, the DVC building, there is nothing like that at all. In fact, in their gift store, which is quite small, there is like a little corner that has like just like one of those coffee pots and a soda thing, and then like a cooler that has like some grab and go snacks. But like, honestly, it's really quite disappointing. And in comparison to the Grand Floridian, like perhaps it's like the same amount, but because of the layout of it, and because it's also so much further than anything else, like at the Grand Floridian, you can always go to the Polynesian or Contemporary or Magic Kingdom or even Wilderness Lodge. Like they're not so far, but in Animal Kingdom Lodge, there isn't really anything else to get food. And so if you just want something cheap, not even cheap, I mean, yes, I guess cheap, but you just want something inexpensive and quick and nothing formal, you don't have a lot of options. With that being said, Mara has my favorite quick service restaurant. Like, Mara has my favorite quick service menu item across the Walt Disney World Resort property. So at the Mara, for lunch and dinner, they have your normal stuff. They have burgers, they have pizza, all that stuff. And that is what most people usually order. Now, look, I don't want to yuck on somebody's yum, order what you want, but I do think that if you are in this, like, cultural immersive atmosphere, that it's kind of a cool idea to go and try something that's a little bit different, or try something that is like unique to that hotel. And I think when they opened, because I went there like 15 years ago with my family for like a fancy dinner, actually. And so when we were just looking around, and I think that their quick service options when it opened were a lot more kind of African themed. I think they have definitely made it a lot more Americanized since it opened. But they have these bowls that are just so delicious. I like talk about them all the time. You can get it with chicken or shrimp or vegetarian, and it comes with like pickled vegetables and rice and olives, which I don't like, but whatever. And like different, I don't know, it's just so delicious, and you can only get it there. And when I ordered it, I said to the cast member, like, I love this dish so much. I've been dreaming about it since I knew I was coming here. And she's like, oh my God, I love it so much too. Hardly anybody orders it. And then she like gave me extras of everything, and it was wonderful because cast members are wonderful. So that was really great. They also have a cooler in there where they have some like grab and go desserts and stuff like that. Usually they sound a lot better than actually how they look. I've had some desserts there that have been good, but like not great. Like really nothing that blows my mind, not even like the famous zebra domes. And I really just want to be like, I'm here, give me something fantastic. But I guess because it is so isolated, they can't be too, unique, because then people won't order it and they'll just throw it out. And I'm sure they have learned that already. So that is the quick service restaurant. It is a little bit of a bottleneck if you are going at like peak times, especially breakfast. I haven't been there for breakfast, but I can only assume. But if you are going, then like check out the stuff that is unique to Animal Kingdom Lodge. Like, again, the combination bowl, the chicken bowl, the shrimp bowl, the veggie bowl. Oh my God, so good. The other restaurant that people talk about a lot is Boma. And they talk about it a lot as an underrated buffet. And that is true. It is a very good buffet. It is open for breakfast and for dinner, and neither of them are character meals, so don't expect to see characters. They have standard buffet fare at both breakfast and dinner, but then they also have some things that are a little bit more unique, continental, like African, and obviously I would recommend going and trying those things more so than just like regular scrambled eggs. But again, you do you, bibbidi bobbidi boo. Now, I do like it here, but I find it very squishy. I find it really, really busy, and I find that the flow, especially around the actual buffet areas, always get really stagnant, like another bottleneck. And like a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just start lining up, but it isn't a lineup. So there's just big clumps of people. And then, like it's kind of difficult. What I find kind of sad is that like people don't usually go for the more unique items. So then someone like me who wants to go try those unique items, by the time I get there, they've been kind of sitting there for a bit and they don't look quite as peppy. And then I'm just like, oh. The seating at this restaurant is a blend of like half banquettes, half tables, and there aren't a ton of tables for two. And there also are hardly any tables that are like window tables. So I've basically, every time I've gone, I have been like, oh, can I sit by a window? And I basically have I've been sat in the same spot every time. And I do appreciate that because it is a little bit out of the fray, but then it is a longer walk to the buffet. And like, look, everything was good. I've enjoyed every single meal there, but it isn't necessarily something like I would travel there for the quick service combination bowl. In fact, I have. And I have also traveled there for the buffets, the Boma buffets, but it's not like my favorite. And it's because, again, there's just more. It's kind of like what I was saying about Grand Floridian Cafe last week, that it's the like kind of next affordable food option at the hotel. So it's always extra busy because it's not the quick service restaurant, but it is a restaurant that you can bring your whole family to because it's more affordable. I also always feel really rushed when I'm in there. So look, the food is good, but there are so many other restaurants that you can eat at Animal Kingdom Lodge that are way more interesting experiences. And one of those is right next to Boma, and that is Jinko. Jinko is a signature restaurant. It's only open for dinner. It is a little pricey, and it is delicious. But it is a little exotic. If that's not your flavor profile, if that's not your taste, I'm going to suggest another place, so don't worry. This is, like I said, it's a signature restaurant. It's one of the, I think it's one of the most fancy restaurants across Walt Disney World property. And the meal that I had here with my family when we came we still talk about it to this day, that it was one of the best meals that we have ever had. And the thoughtfulness, and like my sister pretended to be she didn't pretend to be a vegetarian that week. She just was a vegetarian that week. So they had to like, blah, 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 blah. It's fine. I respect vegetarians. I respect vegans. But I don't super love when you switch back and forth every week, but that's just me being an older sister. So anyway, the way that they were able to accommodate her food preferences was just fantastic. We still talk about it. And it's one of the places that I really, really want to go back. But because it is so fancy, And I really would like to experience it with somebody else because, and maybe this is why I should just stick to the buffet, even though I find it really cramped, because I want to try their food too. Like, I don't just want to eat my own food. I want to be able to try 2 entrees, 2 appetizers, 2 desserts, etc. So I haven't been back since I went with a group of 4 where we could try all the food, but it is definitely like, especially if you are going for something like your birthday or something, like treat yourself here, Solos. It's so, so wonderful. But again, the menu is a little bit more exotic for taste. So for example, for the appetizers, there's a duck confit and honey raisin flatbread. There's a diver scallop with pork belly. There's a spiced carrot soup. There are mussels. For entrees, there's a seared venison loin. There's Botswana short rib. There's a seafood tangine, Zulu oxtail, like a lot of different really interesting things. And so if you're like up for it, then yeah, definitely try it out. Super, super delicious. There are also 2 lounges in this area. One is the Victoria Falls Lounge. Now, this is kind of an interesting spot where it is. So like I said, you have to go down the stairs or take the elevator down to where the pool is and where the restaurants are. But then there's like this weird mezzanine level, and that's where the Victoria Falls Lounge is. I've never been there. It doesn't seem overly that interesting to me. It opens at 4 p.m. You can get drinks, things like that. And I think they have light food, but you can't get a full meal there. There's also a Cape Town lounge and wine bar that's connected to Jinko. I think it's really, really small. I think it's just a few seats. And that just has drinks as well. So if you want food, then you are waiting at the restaurant. Now, if you are intrigued by Jinko, but you find it and the prices may be a little overwhelming, then you can head over to Kidani House where there is Sana. Sana is a restaurant that actually is on the first floor again, so you have to go down the stairs once you get into the lobby, and it has windows that you can see outside the savannah. There's also a lounge, so you can just like go and sit down without like making a reservation or waiting for a table, and you can't see the savannah from there, but you're not that far from the doors. And it has the full menu. So you can get the same thing at Sana Lounge versus Sana Sit Down. One thing you can get at Sana that Animal Kingdom Lodge is very known for is the bread service. The bread service is this, it's like 5 different types of bread, 12 different types of dips, and they come to your table and they explain all the different breads and the dips and blah, 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 blah. It's this whole thing. It's really cool. It's not weird to get it solo. In fact, then you don't have to share it with anyone, which is the best. I've had it quite a few times, but I did it as takeout when I stayed there, and I did enjoy eating it in my room. But if you were going to do it for the first time, definitely do it at the restaurant where the server can explain everything to you. Sana is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And one of the reasons why it's open for breakfast is because it is the only restaurant at Kidani House. So even just in like the last 2 times I've been there, I've seen an increase in like promotion material in the lobby and by the restaurant for like just a quick service grab and go breakfast because they didn't have anything else. I've been hearing that a lot about DVC resorts, actually, that they just are missing a lot of food. But because the rooms have little kitchens in them, I think they're expecting people to bring in groceries or to cook or things like that. If you are eating at Sana, they do have food that is a little bit more African Indian themed. They have different curries, things like that. However, their lunch menu is a lot more Americanized. Burgers, stuff like that. I sat in the lounge to have dinner and I ordered a curry, and the people beside me, they were like, I don't even want to see the menu. I just want a burger. And the server was like, okay, I'll see if the kitchen can like do something from the lunch menu. And he comes back, he's like, yeah, they can do a burger. Are you okay with like the goat cheese? And they're like, no goat cheese. If you don't have cheddar, nothing else. Like, So they just wanted totally American food, and they were able to accommodate that. So it is a little bit more exotic than regular kind of American food, but not quite as fancy or expensive as Jinko. So it might be a good place for you to check out. It also has mobile order, and there isn't really any place you can, unless you're staying there, of course, there isn't any place that you can like take it and eat outside. Like at some of the other resorts, they do have outdoor seating. That's not the case here. So if you are just coming for the day and you want to check this restaurant out and they don't have reservations and you've checked in and they said it's going to be a bit of a wait, then just go to the lounge, sit at the bar, order something there. Don't do the takeout. If you're just there for the day, just go and use the lounge. There are also the pool bars, of course. The Kidani pool bar has a lot more food, and they have these like pulled pork nachos. I don't eat pork, so I never had them. But one of the women that I met on the VIP tour, she was like, yeah, I don't eat pork either. These are my exceptions. I also have exceptions. I'm totally not judging her. And these nachos were one of the exceptions that she had, the spiced pork nachos. So yay for her. I had a gourmet grilled cheese, and it actually did have bacon on it. I picked it out, but it also had this onion jam. It was a tamarind onion jam with tomatoes on sourdough, and it was really great. So there's a lot of different things that you can try here, and again, I just really recommend trying them. I ate at the pool bar, like right at the bar, and I had this cast member who was just really great and friendly and so helpful, and I ordered one of the drinks that I like to drink when it's really hot is a club soda with lime and mint. And sometimes they charge me for it, sometimes they don't. It's fine. I never dig too deep. I'm fine either way. And this cast member, he just like kept them coming. It was great. Every time he saw that I was like kind of slurping at the end of my straw, he just like bring me another one, and he just kept putting like more mint in it. So they always looked fancy, and I'm really just drinking like carbonated water and garnish. So yeah, it was great. I had a good experience eating there. Okay, so let's talk about pools and gyms. So there are actually 2 gyms across the resort. So there is one at Jumbo House, and there's one at Kidani House. The Kidani House, it is a newer gym. I don't even know if anyone listening to this podcast have ever actually used a Disney gym. I won't, but I'm looking out for you. Both of the gyms are by the pools, and they also are close to bathrooms with showers and all of that stuff. And that is nice too if you are like I was staying there and I took a swim and then I wanted to shower before I got my clothes on to go on the plane. So know that that the bathrooms by the pools as well have bathrooms with showers, and they have like shampoo and conditioner and body wash and things like that. Okay, but here's the thing about the pools at the Animal Kingdom Lodge Hotel buildings, because there's only 2 pools. The ratio of guest rooms to pools are very, very low. If you are a solo that wants to just bob around in a pool, then go to the moderate resorts for sure. There, like I said, are 2 pools, and they were so busy that I couldn't stay in them. They're just so busy. They're so busy, and they're so uncomfortable because I'm not playing ball. I'm not jumping around with my dad. I'm not playing with my cousins or my siblings. I just want to hang out in the water and maybe read a book. I'm just trying to have a real chill time in the water, and you can't do that. You cannot do that at either one of the pools because there are only 2 pools, and they are just packed full of families, which is awesome for the families, but terrible for little old me. Both of the pools have water slides, which is cool. I use the water slides because I'm cool as well. There are also 2 hot tubs by both pools, so there's 4 hot tubs across both hotels. There is a kiddie pool, one of those pools that have 6 inches of water at Jumbo House, and then there is a splash pad at Kidani House pool. There are seats, obviously, around the Kidani House pool, but they they get very, very full. However, at the Jumbo House pool, there are a ton of seats, but they don't all face the water, which is kind of interesting. So when I was there in August, I found that actually I could find a lot of seats in the shade, because there are ones that face the water, and then there are ones that are like with their backs to the water. So if you just want to be outside in the shade and you can read your book or listen to a podcast like this one, for example, then there's actually plenty of places for you to find a chair. I'm going to talk more about the pools in this week's reflection too. So if you're a Patreon member and you get access to the reflections, you'll be able to hear a little bit more about my experience with the pool, like for example, when I was there 15 years ago. Okay, so let's talk about my stay. So I rented DVC points from a third-party company, and I got a hotel room at the Kidani House that was not facing the Savannah. I requested a higher floor facing the pool because I thought that would lower my chances of just facing the parking lot. So I actually got a great room. It was on the 4th floor. It did face the pool, and because I was on the 4th floor, I couldn't see the parking lot that well. I didn't mind. I could hear the water of the pool and the splash pad and the kids yelling and stuff like that, but it didn't bother me. It sounded like everyone was having fun. That was really great. I really didn't want to see or hear cars, and that was my main thing. And with my room, that was the case. When I got to the hotel at around 11 o'clock, I was staying at All Star Sports right before that. And with All Star Sports, well, for most of the Disney hotels, check-in time was 3 o'clock. But I learned that check-in time was 4 o'clock for the DVC hotels. So there was a lot of just kind of like waiting around. I didn't know if I should put my bathing suit on. Like, I wasn't quite sure. And I hate that in-between space. I need to strategize better for that. I got a Deluxe studio, and it was available at 4 o'clock. And like I said, it faced the pool. It did not face the Savannah. Now, my stay at All Star Sports, I expected to hate All Star Sports. I expected it to be like, I expected to feel my discomfort on my skin and to be like, I just can't wait to get out of here. And it was the opposite. It was such a pleasant surprise. It was so bright and friendly and sunny. And I mean, some of those things it can't help, but I was so charmed. My expectations for All Star Sports was like less than good, and it just surpassed that. Now, my expectations for staying at a deluxe resort were very, very high, and I wouldn't say my it didn't surpass it, and it hardly met it. It really, like I said, was nothing. I don't know. I was glad I did it, but I was like, okay, angels didn't sing, bells didn't ring. It wasn't a life-changing experience. I didn't have to I don't have a 401k because I'm a Canadian and we don't have that. But it's not like I had to take out money from my 401k for my future deluxe hotel stays. So I walk into the room. Look, it was fine. I just want to be very clear about that. I walk into the room and there was a weird smell. I was like, oh, that's not great. The room was really nice, but at the All Star Sports Hotel, I had a king bed with 8 pillows. And I know some of you solos, even though you have that bed to yourself, you're still sleeping on the end. Not me, my friends. I am starfishing right in the middle of the king size bed. I am sleeping on all of the pillows. I make use of that bed. And so to walk into the room, a little bit of a smell, and then it was a twin bed with 4 pillows. I was like, not a twin, a double. A double bed with 4 pillows. I was like, oh, okay, I have that at home. That's the bed I have at home. It didn't even seem like a queen bed. It seemed like a double. And I was very unimpressed. I was very unimpressed. And then, okay, I'm just going to be super snobby right now. But then like the sheets weren't over the box spring that well, so I could still see the box spring, and it just was like, huh, okay, this is a deluxe resort, I guess. Okay. This room had a couch as well, and so that would have pulled out to be a second bed if I needed a second bed. I didn't. I did take a nap on the couch, though. It was nice to have a little bit of a nap, and it had a balcony, and that was the best part. So, I mean, again, because of the smell, as soon as I got in there, I like opened up the balcony door, and it didn't really close my whole trip. I even slept with it open. That was nice. There was a table inside with 2 chairs, and that's where I ate my dinner when I did the takeout, the mobile order from Santa. You know, the table was a little sticky, and it's not because I don't think it was clean, but because sometimes the varnish, you know. Whereas, like, again, at All-Star Sports, because it's made to be rough and tumble, all the surfaces doesn't get sticky with, like, the varnish coming off because they know it's going to get a lot of use. So I didn't love that. I had to wipe it down before I ate. And yes, of course, I do that normally in, a hotel room or whatever, but I really felt compelled to do it here. There was a lot of storage space, such as a chest of drawers, a place to hang up clothes, all great. It had a little kitchenette with a refrigerator and a sink and a toaster and all that stuff. And, I had some leftovers from the bread service, and because how far the rooms are from in the hallways, I was like, there's no way, especially because I always get up a little bit later. I was like, there's no way I'm going to wake up in time, walk all the way down the hall, order breakfast from the only place that you can get breakfast at this whole hotel, and then walk all the way back and get ready and pack and be out of the room by 11 o'clock. It would be impossible. So I had the leftovers, and it was nice to have leftovers. Like, I didn't feel rushed. It was fine. But I was like, yes, that is one long walk to get breakfast now. So yeah, if I was staying at a deluxe villa resort, if I was staying at the DVC, I would just buy breakfast stuff in, which is fine, but it's not really my preference. Now, the thing is, with a balcony, I do feel easier to stay in the room. And I just kept reminding myself that, I should go do something else. I'm like, no, I'm paying for the room. Use the room, because everything else that I had done, I've done before. So yeah, it was just kind of nice to have the balcony door open and hear the pool and all that stuff. And look, if I had a Savannah view, I'm sure none of these, I would not have any complaints with anything. The bathroom was fine. It was very long. There was a separate room for the toilet, and then double sinks maybe, and then the shower bath combo, very fine, but it had mood lighting. It was African mood lighting. And so when I was trying to decide after my nap, if I just looked rough or if it was makeup, or if it was the lighting, it was actually kind of difficult. And when I realized that, I got really frustrated, actually, that the lighting in the bathroom was not very good. So again, in comparison to All-Star Sports, where it is that fluorescent blue-white light that you're like, okay, I get it. This is the exact opposite. So I don't know, pick your poison, I guess. I also called that morning for a later checkout. They gave me an extra half an hour, but I still got a knock on the door from housekeeping twice, starting once at 8 in the morning. And girl, I am never awake at 8 in the morning if I can help it. So no, I definitely wasn't awake then. And then at 11:15. So I didn't love that. I didn't love that. I'm doing my thing. I'm packing, I'm leaving, I'm leaving, right? So I don't know if it would feel different if I was staying in a non-Savannah View room at Jumbo House, the Deluxe Resort versus the Deluxe Villa Resorts. I don't know if is any difference with things like housekeeping. Oh, and that's the other thing too. All the cast members that I had met, other than the cultural representatives, they were all fine, but they again, nobody blew my mind in terms of over the top service. And at at All Star Sports, I actually did have a couple cast members like that. So it was just such an interesting point of comparison between the two hotels, like the cheapest hotel and then the most expensive hotel that I have stayed at. I mean, I've stayed in Coronado Tower club level, and that was more expensive. And and I have no complaints about any of that, actually. Not great for solos financially because of the club level and eating and all that stuff. But yeah, that was amazing. But between staying at the most expensive hotel that I had stayed at versus the cheapest hotel, again, really nothing blew my mind as a guest staying. Now, does that mean I'm not gonna stay there again or not stay deluxe? No, definitely not. But I just wonder if it was because I was renting DVC points, or because it was DVC versus this, or because it was non-Savannah View versus Savannah View. I'm not quite sure, but I actually was very happy that I didn't walk into the room and think to myself, ooh, how will I ever go back? It was actually nice to know, okay, it's fine. But I really felt I could have stayed at another hotel and done everything that I had done today in terms of seeing animals and eating food and all of that stuff, relaxing and watching the flamingos, all that stuff. I could have done that without staying here, and it would have been fine. So that's really the takeaway that I hope that you're getting, that you should go and visit, even if you're not staying there, because you can still get everything else. And that if you're going for the food options, go and try the more unique things. And yes, of course, you can go to the buffet, but because of how squishy it is, it might not be as pleasurable of an eating experience, especially since you are kind of traveling a little bit further to get to Animal Kingdom Lodge. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to say before I hang up, before I finish this episode, is that I went here in December for Christmas, and I was going to go to Grand Floridian, and it was just too busy, so I left. This was a trip. It was a semi-solo trip. I was there with my mom, and I also met up with this woman named Kelly, who our solo paths cross every once in a while, and she had said, go to Animal Kingdom. She's like, I went there earlier today. It was really fantastic. So because both my mother and I were just overwhelmed by the crowds and seeing the Christmas trees at at Grand Floridian, we went to Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the Christmas tree was so beautiful. It also had animals made out of gingerbread. They were doing this craft by the Christmas tree, which I made, and the cultural representative said it was the best one that he saw all day. Now, it could be because I'm a 43-year-old woman and the other people doing it were 6-year-olds, but it doesn't matter. I did a great job. Hey solos, okay, I've never done this before, but I forgot to say 2 things about Animal Kingdom Lodge that I think that you would be really into. So I came back on, sorry that the audio sounds different. Okay, the number one, well, not the number one. The first thing I wanted to mention is that Animal Kingdom Lodge does something called a Starlight Safari. That is an evening event, and obviously it has a price, but you don't need a park ticket because it's a tour of the savannah at night, but it is the Animal Kingdom Lodge savannah. So I did this with my mother actually in February 2020. What happens is that you go to Kidani House, so the DVC building. You go to Kidani House, they pick you up in a little safari vehicle, and they give you these night vision goggles, or these night vision binoculars, and they drive around the savannah, and you use your little night vision goggles, and you look at animals. Now, here's the really cool thing about it. You are in the savannah at Animal Kingdom Lodge looking at animals, whether it is daytime or nighttime. And because you're with the safari guide, that's the right name. You know, you're with the cast member that deals with the animals all the time. What I found really cute was that, like, animals would come up to the vehicle and the cast member was like, oh, she thinks that we're here to give her treats. And, like, we would hear stories about the animals and all that stuff. And it was just a really cool, unique experience. And, like, let's say you wanted to go to Walt Disney World and, quote, save money. So you weren't planning on going to Animal Kingdom. Then this is something, I guess that doesn't really save you money, but it's a really special experience. You could go here instead and do this Starlight Safari tour. And then, like, what we did, although it wasn't super great because, you know, traveling with others, blah, 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 blah. Like, we ate at the lounge at Santa. Was it Santa there first? Anyway, we ate at the lounge at the restaurant there. We had a drink, non-alcoholic drink, and then we went up and met with the safari group, and it was like a really cool evening. There were a couple kids in the tour, not a lot, and it really just felt like a really cool experience that you could definitely do solo. And the thing is, when I do these special experiences and I'm solo, because I am a question asker, I really take the opportunity to, like, go speak to the cast member or the guide to get more information. I didn't do that as much this time because I was, like, so enamored by the animals, but A+, really cool. The other thing I wanted to tell you about was something that I just learned about. So when I stayed at Animal Kingdom, I stayed in Kidani House, which is the DVC building. And later on in that day, I went over to Jambo House to go eat and to swim and all of that stuff. And when I got there, I saw that there was a sign that had all the different resort activities. And my heart got broken because I looked at the resort activities sign at Kidani House, and I just kind of assumed that they would be very similar. And my heart broke because okay, don't worry, it's fine. My heart broke because on the weekdays at 11 o'clock at Jambo House, they do an art tour of the lobby. And my heart was so broken because I got there at like 11:45, and that is something, if I knew was there, I totally would have done. So that is actually something that I really wish that they would have said at Kidani House. Like, sure, you can do tie-dye at the pool, at the Kidani House pool, or at the Jambo House pool, but something that you can only do at Jambo House is to do this art tour. So if you can go for the day and you can go on the art tour. You can stay over and go on the art tour. It's a great time at 11 a.m., if I do say so myself as a night owl, because, like, the Wilderness Lodge lobby tour begins at 9 a.m. I know for some of you, these are not difficult times, but okay. If you're staying at another hotel at Wilderness, like if you wanted to go to the Wilderness Lodge tour, but you were staying at another hotel, that means that you have to get to Wilderness Lodge by like 8:30. And that can be kind of difficult, even just with Disney transport. You can take a Lyft or an Uber over, sure, but you can also take a bus over to Magic Kingdom, and then you have to take the boat over to Wilderness Lodge, and all that takes a really long time. So that's why I've never done the tour at Wilderness Lodge, because it's at 9 a.m., which is kind of early. But at 11 a.m., it provides more time for people to get to Animal Kingdom Lodge to be able to see the tour. So if you were staying at Grand Floridian or Coronado or All-Star Sports, you have enough time to take the bus over to Animal Kingdom and then take the next bus from Animal Kingdom to Animal Kingdom Lodge. And you get there without as much like toing and froing and rushing, and maybe that's just me in the morning. So I will add that to my trip next time, 100%, and I highly recommend that you do as well. I guess the thing about 11 o'clock too is that for a lot of people, it might cut into your day, but if you are doing a day of like exploring resorts, then this is a really great way to start or end, I guess, depending on your own time clock. But I wanted to make sure you knew those things because they're great for solos, and it really demonstrates how special Animal Kingdom Lodge is. All right, bye. All right, I think that's it. Tell me if you have been to Animal Kingdom Lodge and what you think about it. What else? Well, happy September, everybody. We're now out of our Deluxe series. We're going to get back into some good episodes. We're going to be talking about the Food and Wine Festival. We're going to be talking about Halloween stuff. I know I'm late about Halloween stuff according to like Disney timelines of Halloween, which is weird, but there we go. And there's also a very, very special guest that I think people are going to be really, really excited about coming up in a couple weeks. And there's also going to be a bonus episode with another special guest about Halloween Horror Nights. So stay tuned for that. All right, everyone. Until next week. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Samantha. I hope you like this episode and all the episodes of Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World. If you like this podcast, please make sure that others like it too. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. Those are excellent ways to make sure that other people know about how wonderful it is to go to Disney solo. You can also support this podcast on Patreon. There are now 3 different levels of membership: a free membership, as well as 2 different paid tiers. It's very inexpensive. The highest tier is $4 American or $5 Canadian, and your support helps ensure that the podcast stays ad-free for as long as possible. One benefit of being a Patreon member is that you also can get direct access to me. So if you have an idea for an episode, or if you want an episode on a certain topic, please let me know and I can see how I can make that happen. All right, everyone, until next week, bye.